Good day, sir. Good day, everyone. I am Alexis Kiano. Um, I will report the Chapter 3, Evidence and Crime. Let's tackle the topic, this evidence and crime. Um, this chapter presents the importance of criminals' evidence, types of evidence, proper preservation of evidence. It also includes the proper collecting, marketing, tagging, and preserving of the collected pieces of physical evidence. Um, expected expected learning outcomes. At the end of this chapter, students are expected recognize and understood the legal kinds of evidence that could guide to have police officers in their conduct of criminal investigation. B is identify the individual roles and value of presented evidence crime. C. Acquired theoretical and practical skills in collecting, marketing, tagging, and preserving evidence, and they applied the proper PNP procedure on processing of processing basis of evidence at the crime of sin. That's the expected learning outcomes. And then lesson 1, evidence, definition of evidence. Evidence in its legal definition, evidence is the means sanctioned by these rules of ascertaining the truth about a fact in a judicial proceeding. Um, Next is evidence can also be defined as any material that tends to persuade the court of the truth or probability of a fact alleged or asserted before it. There are three types of evidence. First is the oral, the testimony, documentary evidence, real evidence, and circumstantial evidence. Evidence refers to all of the means by which the truth of any alleged matter of fact is established or disproved during a judicial trial. Next is the term evidence refers to a wide range of information sources that may eventually inform the court to prove or disprove point at issue. The court can draw inferences and reach conclusion based on the various types of evidence to determine whether a charge has been proven beyond a responsible doubt. The form of evidence in criminal investigation is first is firearms and fired ammunitions. The second snipe or bolo. Then third is third is blood, semen, saliva, human or animal, and biological samples. Next is finger and footprints, tool mark, and tire tracks. And F is hairs, fibers, glass, paint, and other trace evidence. A category of physical evidence. The category of physical evidence is tracing evidence is a subtly measurable category of physical evidence that is minute in transit. These are pieces of evidence that could help the investigator find the suspect. Tracing evidence includes aircraft, manifest, visions, clinic records, and blood stains recovered from the area traversed by the wanted suspect. B. Biological and transient evidence. First is biological evidence. Biological proof refers to evidence commonly found at crime scenes. It consists of bodily fluids and tissues that can be verified using DNA profiling techniques. Blood, saliva, sperm, flu, skin cells, hair, urine, and feces are examples of biological evidence. Each biological evidence has its own significance and probative value. Then next, number two is trans evidence. So the first is biological evidence, and the next is transient evidence. The transient evidence is temporary. It refers to evidence that, by definition, is easily changed or lost. Temperature, odor, blood in the rain, and other biological and physical phenomena are examples of transient evidence. It needs physical evidence elements that are likely to degrade or disappear within a specific time frame. What exactly is corpus delicti? Idyllic rather. It is a Latin term for the crime's body. It is the legal term of physical or material evidence of a crime, such as the corpus of a murder victim or the cleaning of a burned out building. It refers to the underlying principle that, in the evidence of evi- in the absence rather in the absence of evidence of a crime being committed. And next is C. Other specific kinds of physical evidence. First is soil. This is made of organic natural materials like rocks, minerals, and decomposing plants, as well as man-made materials like twigs, concrete, glass, or paint. The details of soil samples are analyzed using chemicals that separates the particles that comprise the soil. A similar pattern of separation indicates a match. Then next is paint. Number two is paint. Paint is a pigmented polymer that is applied to various surfaces and adheres to them. The color and shape of paint stripes or other samples can be examined microscopically, as well as determined using gas chromatography. um, Next is number three, tool mark at all. Tool mark is any mark formed when an instrument comes into contact with another surface. The tool mark may indicate the type of tool, the size of the tool, and even the perfect, perpetrator skill. Then sharpened and impression occur when the soil material is transferred to another surface, leaving the contour of the rolled footprints are often left on soft materials like mud or snow, and snow the contours of shoes and ties. 5 is videotape evidence. Videotape is potentially extremely powerful for evidence. If a crime is captured on video, they may be little doubt about who committed the crime. As digital evidence in the subtext, the fact that an individual has a unique set of teeth in terms of form, arrangement of dental work, and bite makes dental evidence powerful form of criminal evidence. Next is computer and electron evidence. Computers, cell phones, and personal digital assistant can be provide a wealth of information about communication, schedules, and criminal activity, making them potentially valuable sources of evidence in criminal investigation. Electronic hardware inspections are highly technical in nature and can lead to testimonial evidence. It is also known as eyewitness testimony or communicative evidence. It is the result of interview and interrogation in which the sense of smell, hearing, taste, and touch are describe through oral and written testimony of witness. It refers to a person testimony offered to prove the truth of an alleged matter, especially evidence extracted from witness on an oral or written statement presented in court as evidence that what is being said is true. Kind of testimonial evidence. Who are the witness? A witness may be a person who testifies under cut in court proceeding, or a person who testifies under at in a court proceeding, a plaintiff or a defendant witness. So it refers to a person who can perceive make that perception known to others and be what is a deposit. This is oral testimony where the lawyer asks questions and the witness. The person being questioned answers and the court clerk or tape recorder. So these are the examples of the deposit. Signs affected confirming the authenticity or later printed transcripts. Number 3, documents refers to a work containing officially record or content that might speak for itself when read by investigators and courts. It consists of inner writing or material containing letters, word, numbers, symbol, or other written expressions that serve as evidence of its context. Birth, date, certificates, necropsy report, and medical examination. Lesson 2. Direct the evidence. It is a proof of the facts at issue without the aid of reasoning of conjecture, circumstantial evidence, facts or evidence of facts that individually or collectively may be inferred as necessary or possible consequence of the existence of a particularly separate fact. However, the following requirements must be present before a circumstantial evidence will become sufficient for conviction. There is more than one circumstance, the facts from which the inferences and derived are proven, and there are the combination of all circumstances such as to procedure convicted beyond reasonable doubt. These are the examples of example of circumstantial evidence. Next, and degree of value is establish a disputed fact of an evidence. These are the 4 degree of value establishment of an evidence: prima facie evidence, conclusive evidence, corroborative evidence, and cumulative evidence. Weight and acceptability of an evidence, nature of an evidence. Then these are the 2 positive and negative evidence. Quality of an evidence: relevant evidence, material evidence, admissible evidence, credible evidence. These are the 4 quality of an evidence: the relative evidence, the material evidence, the admissible evidence, and the credible evidence. The lesson 3, collecting, marking, tagging, and preserving evidence. During the investigation process, response teams should be familiar with a Appropriate actions to take with certain types of evidence found at crime, since the proper methods of collecting, marking, and preserving evidence that must be followed are collecting of physical evidence, and all items found at the crime scene must be collected. A collection agent should not determine whether a particular term is relevant. Having small pieces of evidence must be treasured, so it is necessary of collecting. So these are the examples of the collecting, and collecting, marking, tagging, and preserving evidence. These are the like mao ni siya ang mga examples sa gina say sa lesson 3, like collecting, marking, tagging, and preserving fragments. Collection of liquid blood, collection of dried blood, collection of wet blood on clothing, factors which will determine blood typing, collection of hair, like this is kanang like na topic na ay naita say na nato siya kanina. Each of these samples should be collected in separate containers and properly labeled. Identify hair carefully as to exact location found. These are the like siya collection of hair. This mo na siyang like ginamain bita siya. Do not mix hair found in several locations. Place the hair in folded paper and put it in a envelope and glass barrier seal. Sorry, na wrong spelling pag-type. Do not tape the hair to an object, as it will alter the hair and destroys any debris adhering to it. Collection of fingernail. Collection of fingernail. These are some more important to know about collection of fingernail. A clean each fingernail with a clean fingernail file. Place the serpent from each finger on already labeled paper with notation of which finger it came from. Place the gripping from each finger in a separate envelope or glass bag. Fingernails gripping should be obtained from both the victim and the suspect. If the suspect's hands is contaminated with blood, note on the container. These are the example. Fiber is traceable evidence in the event of clothing. Cross-deformation fibers can get cut on clothing or objects or become embedded in your vehicle's vein. Collection of fiber. These are the number 5. These are the glass in the case of robbery or a hit and run. Like, kan siya ka ng, like, for example, na aksidente ka, tapos na hit and run ka sa sakyanan. Ano siya ang result? Excuse me. Can be important evidence species can be seen on clothing and shoes. Glasses are solely examined to determine if both the detection sample and the known standard have the same physical properties and trace elements as impurities. Moreover, collection of glass. These are the examples of collection of glass. Wait, let me read this number 6. Firearm, bullet, shotgun, shield, shotgun bullet, and one explosive reside in gunpowder pattern can provide vital evidence and specific answers to possible questions in the case. So these are the possible questions in the case. A, B, C, D, E, and so on and so forth. And this is and then ang sumpay niya is nasa next. So these are the example until E. then next rather, those in the collection of firearm evidence. Bullet. It can provide information about the make and type of ammunition and weapon from which the bullet was fired and whether or not it was fired from specific weapon provided the weapon is available for test purposes. Collection of bullet. Cartridge case. The cartridge case. The cartridge case. Collection of cartridge case. Seminal stain. Then the collection of seminal stain. The law enforcement. Seminal stain, although not always, it can be found on bedding blankets and apparel. Pure safety objectives. Operatives. Sorry, nabulol na ako kasi napuyat ko sa paghihingon eh. Medyo taas siya, lain na akong tingog. These are the examples of pure safety operatives. The all stand should be left to air dry before being wrapped in a paper and packaged with any evidence, and so on and so far. So this is the example. Number 9, similar stain, although not always. It can be found on being blankets and apparel. Like blood, it is a biological form of evidence that must be carefully collected in order to preserve its validity. Seminal stain collection. So, nabalik na pala ako, okay. General rules in marketing tools or objective as physical evidence. These are the general tools and objective physical evidence. My credential of recovering officer, never use X, record any serial number, like example, like serial number sa police, like because this is what you mean, record any serial number and others. The example of the example of serial number is like every policeman or woman, they have a serial number. If you don't have a serial number, you're not a police. Based on what I understand, mark the object without damage. Always mark the container in which the object is placed. So these are the example, the general rules and marketing tools, marking tools or objective physical evidence. Marking of firearms relative evidence. Marking of firearms related evidence. These are the marking. The rifles, for the empty shells, and mystifies categories the revolvers, pistols, rifles, like mga mga gamit niya sa mga like this pistol, rifles, mystified categories and ganon. Then bullets, slugs, balls, pellets. The fundamental of criminal investigation and intelligence. They have They have the two investigation and intelligence. They have evidence tagging and physical evidence. So these are the first is evidence tagging. The next is physical evidence. Next is tool mark preservation. These are the tool mark preservation. Person with extensive experience in this field can make cast of tool mark for casts are usually for compassion and inferior methods in use some mark well below. So these are the tool mark preservation. Sorry, na mental block ko. The law enforcement of criminal. Examples be marked different or other. No new food should be made, nor should marks or notes be placed on such material. Then next is whenever possible, all documents should be protected by placing them in. Sorry. Saan to? Saan naman to? Hi. Them in cellophane or plastic envelopes. Shift of evidence. There have two shipment of evidence. The original documents may be submitted personally or left in previously described lockers at the laboratory entrance. Such evidence sent to the laboratory by mail must be sent by certified or registered mall. If there is a massive amount of material, it may be sent some other way, but the package must be always be sealed. And the mali siya ang sumpay lang gyapon ni siya kanang next is restoration or decipherment of obliterated or erased writing, compression of check protectors, identification embossed, and compression of paper, preservation of nascent fingerprints. Glass bottle and glass can be placed vertically on a board and placed in the bottom of a box to keep the base of the bottle or glass in place. The base can be surrounded with nails, and the top can be inserted through a hole in a piece of cardboard. Latin thread papers and documents should be individually wrapped in cellophane or manila envelopes. A container of this type can be sandwiched between two sheets of stiff cardboard, rough and mailed. Three types of fingerprints that can be found in a crime scene: the sweat and oil on the skin surface, combinations to form lasting fingerprints, and blood creases, ink, and dirt can all be used to create passion fingerprints. And number three is plastic fingerprints are dimensional impressions created by pressing your fingers and pressing applied paint. The lesson for general and equipment is processing evidence, general laws, and the collection and preservation of biological materials. Avoid touching individual, use dissolvable protective paper. These are the examples of this. These are the examples as the change gloves, use supplies. Then kani siya, mo siyang sumpay niya dito sa mga examples niya. And evidence buying, marking, and selling materials. Tools that are acceptable evidence that is tamper-proof, reinforced, packaging tape, seal with height. Each package information should be provided the agency's name, case number with the agency number of item, date, for investigator. Methods of service or recording evidence in the past. The sketching and the observation and explanation. The sketching, if no scientific approach is available to preserve evidence, or drawing of the scene or objective to be preserved is created. Next is the persons or thing to be preserved is described by putting it into words. What is parley or spoken picture? It it is it refers to a verbal accurate and picturesque description of the person identified. Such information may be given by a witness, relatives, or other persons who are acquainted with the person to be identified. The following basic requirements must be including the verbal description. And these are the 10 examples of this. These are the 10 examples. General impression, agencies, race or color, height, weight, body, postures, head, hair, face, and forehead, eyebrows, mustache, ears, eyes, cheeks, nose, mouth, lips. And then these are the need to think the ability of a person to remember time, place, and event can be destroyed or altered by the passage of time. The witness each conclusion with other evidence trauma or disease. Inanimate model of a scene and a person who witnessed something limited. Sunod-sunod lang yapon na siya para pare-pareho lang yapon siya. If a witness dies, the evidence is lost. What is principal chain of custody? The chain of custody is the most critical process of evidence documentation. It is a must to assure the court of all the evidence is authentic. It is the same evidence is at the crime scene and that it was at all times in the custody of a person designated to handle it. So, what is the chain of custody rule? Sorry. Yeah. So, what is the chain of... sorry. What is the chain of custody rule? Sorry na, siya na mali. What is the chain of custody rule? The chain of custody is the unbroken sequence of events that takes an item of evidence from discovery to its final appearance in court. Every link in this chain is documented from discovery at the crime scene through evidence gathering, storage, lab analysis, return to the storage, and transfer to court. So next is, what does chain of custody do? So the iyang mahimo. So the chain of custody establishes the credibility of a piece of evidence. A paper trail is kept so that the people in charge of the evidence at any given time can be identified quickly and called to testify during the trial if necessary. When presenting evidence as an exhibit, a record of the chain of evidence must be kept and established in court. So that's all of my topic. And thank you po, sir. God bless po.